welcome to the channel. I'm Chris. Gonna be a pretty cool day. I'm gonna go to my LCS, Everyone Comics, in Long Island City, Queens. Since starting the channel, I've only really been going to Midtown. So Midtown is really the store I go to the most, but the place I actually have a pull list at is at Everyone Comics. So I have all my Ghost Machine stuff there, and I'll go every month or so to kind of pick up those books and support that place because I think it's important to have those things. I definitely was getting more books when Royal Collectibles was not far from me. They have a location in Forest Hills, but they had one in Astoria, which was much closer to me, and I used to go there a lot more. But everyone's not too far; is a couple train stops away. The staff is really nice. They also have another location in Brooklyn, but that one is called Anyone Comics. So I'm gonna pick up my poll and then see what other books they have, and then also catch up with whoever's there. But it's going to be a pretty cool day. See if we do some other stuff, but that's kind of the plan for the day. So come with me. So my comic book recommendation of the day is Wrestle Heist. This is from Kyle Starks. He draws it and writes it. Kyle is one of my favorite creators of the last few years. I've actually interviewed them on my podcast a few times, I think twice. They've done Pine and Merrimack. They did the Peacemaker Tries Hard series, which is awesome. If you love Peacemaker, I think that's the closest you're going to get to sort of like the James Gunn, John Cena version of Peacemaker. And I was really disappointed that they weren't able to get Vigilante in that series. I think if they ever do a follow up, they need to get them to do Vigilante. But Wrestle Heist, this is awesome. I don't know what I kind of expected. I was like, I like Kyle Starks. I like wrestling. Let me pick it up. I love the cover. It's kind of in the style of an old school wrestling magazine. But it follows a wrestler that is taken out because of an injury and then decides to plan this heist on his old promotion, which is pretty simple, but I think the way Kyle sort of forms this story, I think I had certain expectations of what I thought it would be, and I just love it. I think it captures the era of wrestling I grew up on, and there are certain aspects of it whether it be the wrestling con circuit, all that stuff, heels, the background of it, there's just so much in this book that I think I did not quite expect. For me, I think the last few years, what I've really loved, whether it be in comics, movies, video games, whatever media I'm consuming, manga, anime, is I like to kind of be surprised. So I didn't read any synopsis. I just knew this is wrestling. I knew it's called Wrestle Heist, and then I knew it was drawn by Kyle Starks. And then I read it, and I'm so glad I didn't read any previews or anything like that because there's aspects of it that left me surprised. There's things that it's funny, but it's also really kind of like a personal journey of this character. Yeah, Wrestle Heist. It's awesome. I think right now there's only one issue. Issue 2 is coming out this month. It was sneaky. It was I think it came out 2 weeks before the year ended, and I think it is one of my favorite single issue number ones of the year. I didn't do a top 2025 list, but this is definitely one of the books I'm looking forward to in 2026. Now that the series is going to continue, I think it's only going to be for 5 issues or so. But read anything Kyle Starks, but particularly read Wrestle Heist right now, from Image Comics and Kyle Stark. So this is Everyone Comics. Technically my LCS because this is where I have my pull. They have a wall of new comics. They also have back issues, trades, collectibles, and figures. I think they do really well. You have to really pre-order your books here because it is a smaller shop. So I like to kind of keep my Rook, my Geiger, all of my Ghost Machine stuff here just so that I stay on top of that. But also support the shop. And I just support them because again they're a local shop. Gabe, who works here, is awesome. A friend of mine, Nick, knows the owner, Demetrius, so they've been great in the community in terms of New York City comics. They own a shop in Brooklyn as well, which is called Anyone Comics. And I don't know, I just like having something pretty close and also local in Queens that isn't Midtown Comic. Midtown Comics is probably going to survive without my dollar. But I do like shopping there because they have so much variety. And when I go in there, sometimes I can find books that honestly I didn't even know were coming out. So that's why I mainly go there. But again, I like to support everyone. One thing I love about the store is that they have this mural inside that's like Danny on the street from Doom Patrol, but it has Optimus Prime, it has Jotaro from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Erica Slaughter. This is also where they kind of have like the games area. I think what kind of keeps them going, again, that support of the community. They do like sip and draws, trivia nights. They also have a lot of kids' books, so there's a lot of parents that come in here to, this is their first interaction with comics, which is really cool. They have back issues, and I like this back issue section more than the Midtown comics, just because Midtown is a little overpriced. Also, Midtown, like if I'm in back issues, I really don't want to be looking for books that like came out like a week ago, and it seems like a lot of their back issue bins is full of that kind of stuff. But everyone has a pretty decent variety of that, and also like some newer graphic novels that sometimes I'll check out. I am back. Got quite a few books, mainly because I underestimated how long I haven't been at Everyone Comics. My bad. So I had a bunch of Geiger books. I had, I think, all the Rook books since it came back. And then I also got this, which is Carmen Redclaw. It's from Dark Horse, Mike Mignola, Ray Allen on art, and also co-wrote it. It's from the world of Hellboy. Growing up, I loved the Guillermo del Toro Hellboy. Love Guillermo del Toro. But I did not start reading Hellboy comics until The Crooked Man. I was getting ready to watch that movie and review it for the podcast, and I thought like, why don't I read the comics to kind of get a grasp of like what the comics are like? Because I think part of the reason we never got Hellboy 3 is that it became more Guillermo del Toro's vision, which I love, and I think actually is in some way more commercial in some respects. But reading the Hellboy comics, they are fantastic. They're a lot darker, very much a full world. Like Mike Mignola puts out like a new Hellboy universe book every month. I think he's like 99% of the publishing at Dark Horse. But part of that is that it's such a rich world. Characters like Carmen Redclaw could be up there. And I think Mignola is not look maybe this is me, but I think Todd McFarlane gets a lot of praise for what he's created with Spawn and the Spawn universe. You got King Spawn, all these different characters and spin-offs, but like Mignola is just as prolific, and in a lot of these he is writing it. And when he doesn't write it, I love that he elevates other creators and it does a good job of picking creators to kind of play in the sandbox of Hellboy. Like, I've never, not that I know of, read anything with Ray Allen, but their art is pretty cool, like in regards to what the Hellboy universe is. And it gives me like one of my favorite artists of all time is Phil Hester. Definitely getting Phil Hester vibes from their art. So I really like this book. It was fun. Anything with demon hunters, I'm going to get it. This is about a demon hunter. Her name is Carmen. And I mean, this is the first issue, so we don't get too deep into it, but it looks like she owns a ranch that is her family ranch that's cursed, and she goes around sort of in the 1800s as a demon hunter for hire. So supernatural meets I don't know, it's good stuff. Carmen Redclaw, I think it came out this week, so there's only one issue. And speaking of kind of like indies and Dark Horse low key does drop some really great comics, and I feel like people don't really talk about them too much. Last year, one of my favorite reads was Los Monstros from James Robinson, who did JSA with Jeff Johns and stuff like that. That was like LA Noir meets Universal Monsters, and that was fantastic. Loved that book. And then the other stuff is literally just all Ghost Machine stuff. To support everyone, because everyone comics, like, it's a smaller shop, so they don't get like too many books. And when you're dealing with an LCS, like, what's important about having a pool is that they know what to order. It's like they have to buy books in advance, not knowing that people will be there to buy them. So it's important to pre-order your books. Geiger, right here, we have issue number 19. We have issue 18, which is cool. We have Rook Exodus 7. Again, the return of Rook. And then we also have Rook number 8, which is great. And Rook number 9, which is the latest issue. I haven't finished this one. I'm mostly caught up on Rook, but I haven't. I bought that issue from Midtown because that is a series that like I kind of have to read when it comes out because it's so good. Jason Fabak and Jeff Johns are such a great team, and Ghost Machine in general. I love them. If you look right here, that is a Junkyard Joe figure, Mezco. It is the only officially licensed Ghost Machine figure. I think we are getting a Geiger later this year or something like that. I have a bunch of signed Ghost Machine merch. I got Ghost Machine coming out of my ears. I was there when they first announced Ghost Machine as a company in New York Comic Con. Lightflex, I've interviewed Jeff Johns several times, 2 times to be exact, and it's just awesome. I really believe in what they do. Like it's creator owned in sort of like a big and fantastic way. Like you have these all these great creators, some of which are my all time favorites, like Pete Tomasi, Francis Manipal, Jeff Johns, obviously, just Jason Fabak, Brian Hitch, Ivan Rice, and Gary Frank. There's even more that I'm not thinking about, and they have some good books coming out this year for the first time, like The Trillionaire Kid. I think First Ghost is finally going to come out, which has been teased literally since the beginning of Ghost Machine as a company. And what they do again as an indie that most the big two doesn't do at all, even with their most expensive variant covers, they give you cardstock like paper, and then it's $3.99. Like they haven't raised the prices or anything like that, and you're dealing with literally the best artists in the world. Like Jason Fabak was drawing Justice League. So was Brian Hitch, Francis Manipul. Like all of these artists and writers that were writing on some of the biggest books in the industry. And I think the big two definitely missed them in some regards when it comes to one, the art department, and also storytelling. They're just a great company, and I love what they do. You know, mostly like when you see indie companies come about, sometimes it could feel like they are making a bunch of comics to make a movie and stuff like that. And that's happening at Ghost Machine. There's a Red Coat movie coming. Geiger was announced as a series a couple years ago. But it's comics first, it's stories first, it's creators first, it's creator forward. And you're looking at all these great creators like Jeff Johns, Manipul, Hitch, Frank, Mital Schultz, who's a newer creator. You're looking at all of them, and they're doing stuff that's very just like, hey, like Rook as a TV series, a movie. The only way I think you could replicate the scale of this book is to make like a large scale like RPG video game that takes like 7 years to make. Like the world that Jason Fabak and Jeff Johns have created with Rook, and just the intricate details, the lore, all that stuff. Like you can't. It's like unfilmable, which is what you want with comic books. You want to feel like comic books are comic books. You know, like you shouldn't be thinking like, is this like a Netflix pitch or anything like that. So I love what they do. I support them as best as I can. I really missed them last year at New York Comic Con. They didn't go to New York Comic Con like they did in previous years. But I know they're cooking really good stuff. Like I said, they announced the Trillionaire Kid, and a bunch of other stuff. And like I'm really like honestly one of the best moments in creating content over the last couple years is being able to meet Jeff Johns, being able to interview Jeff Johns. It's a pinch me moment that I still like. Anytime I say it out loud, I'm like, wow, that really happened. And I just really respect what they do. And again, they are doing stuff that, they're not repeating themselves. They're not, doing what they did at DC. I think Junkyard Joe is the best thing that he's ever done. Like it's so emotional. It's only 6 issues, but it's such a great, like maybe it's because I've been reading him since literally I got into comics, and it's just such a great story, very emotional, and obviously like really personal to him and Gary Frank. I have like several Junkyard Joe shirts, signed comics, all that stuff. So if you even look, my journal has a little Junkyard Joe sticker on it and Ghost Machine. So it is real when it comes to the love of Ghost Machine, and I think what they're doing as a comic book company is really impressive. And in 3 years in, they've become one of the best companies. Some of their other books, even Family Odysseys, I think it doesn't get the attention that like Rook or Geiger gets, or even Redcoat, but Rockefellers, Hornsby and Halo. I think those books are fantastic, and if they found a way, I think the comic shop, like, the audience is not really there. Like, they need to find a way to kind of like, I don't know, create like a manga format, like get in bookstores, the Scholastic Book Fair, because I feel like especially something like Hornsby and Halo, which I love from when the Ghost Machine like one shot came out a couple years ago. If they figured out how to get that in front of the right audience, I think that would be like the biggest book they have. Like it's such a grand story, and again, I just love what they do, and that's why I always keep them in my pool. So like again, I support Everyone Comics by keeping that pool there, and stacking up the books so that when I go there and like let's say they don't have a book that I'm looking for or something I want to try out like a Carmen Redclaw, like hey, I have a couple books that I can buy from there and support them, because I think it is really important to support them best I can, so that they can stay there. I know how important it is to have something really close to you. I didn't get to see Gabe, who's my guy at Everyone Comics, who I really like. I would have been there for like 2 hours if he was there. So it's probably better that he wasn't there. But yeah, Ghost Machine, got to pick up some stuff. Keep my mind off things. Like it's still like a really hard time for me and my family right now. So, trying to stay busy, positive, read some great comic stories, and, hang out with you guys. So let me know what you guys think of the haul of Everyone Comics. Check them out if you're ever in Long Island City, Queens. But yeah, see you later. Peace.